Welcome to episode 43 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk, and today is the 29th of June on a Friday, and welcome everybody. So today I've got some knitting, a little bit of sewing and some felting, and a blast from the past and gadget as usual, and a few confessions. And then at the end I'm just going to talk about some of the things that are going in my Etsy shop. It's actually today at 7 o'clock, so the 29th of June at 7 o'clock the update is. So if you'd like to find my Etsy shop, I've also popped a link in the down bar too. So we've got some knit alongs and make alongs going on at the moment. We've got the Christmas craft along where we're making all the things related to Christmas and for gifts. You don't have to actually finish anything to enter the group, it's just a chat, and end of every month I draw 2 winners, and the prizes for this month are the Christmas tree and the little Christmas tree ornaments that I showed on the last podcast. Kindly Jen Sheelan has donated a pattern prize which will go towards the July prize pot, and it's a lovely shawl pattern and it's called Springtime Melody, and I shall pop a picture up here so you can see what it looks like. Jen's got some lovely patterns if you go and have a look on her Ravelry page. So we've also got the button jar knit along where we've been making things with the yarn that Kelly and I have worked together in a collaboration for. So I designed these project bags with a button jar on the front, and Kelly dyed up some beautiful yarn that matches in with those colours, and they look really pretty. They match really nicely in with the buttons on the front of the bag. And we're just chatting about what we're making with our own kits. So that's over in the Ravelry group as well. And I also wanted to mention that I've got a new sock tutorial on YouTube, and it's started off, there's only part 1 up there at the moment, but they're top down socks, and it's the way I knit my top down socks, my favourite way, and you can follow along with me if you'd like to. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the knitting. So we've got a couple of finished objects, and I've got my slithering socks that I've knitted for Adam. So these are in my own sort of, I've dyed this up specially for Adam in a sort of slithering colours where it's green and greys there. And I've done it so it's a micro striping yarn, and I really like how the micro striping yarn works up in a heel flap. I think that's really pretty. So the pattern I've followed is actually my simple top-down socks, which I've got the tutorial for, and I will pop a link down below to the pattern and to the tutorial videos that I've got up so far. So this is knitted in my 80% BFL, 20% nylon yarn, and this comes up as quite a thick fingering weight. And I noticed that for Adam, I only actually had to cast on 56 stitches on 2.75mm needles for these, because it's quite a nice thick weight of yarn, so then there's less stitches to knit. But they'll be brilliant for the autumn time when it gets a bit cooler. So that's finished object number 1. I've also got another pair of socks finished. So these were my Afterthought Everything socks that I'd started on a previous podcast. And let me have a look who the pattern is by. So I used the Afterthought Everything pattern by Erica Kempf Broughton, and because of the nature of the pattern, the socks don't actually match, but I quite like that anyway, and they're going to be a Christmas gift. I think I knitted these on 2.5mm needles, and a 64 stitch count, I think. That's another sock finished. This is one of my Christmas gifts, so that's one thing ticked off the list, which is lovely. So that's all my finished objects that I've got for this episode, but I do have some works in progress. So first of all, I've been working on my Dale socks, and these socks are a pattern by Homespun House, but unfortunately there's not a load of sizes on this, and they're very small sizes, so in order to get them to fit, I increased the stitch count, especially around the colourwork area here. I think it was about 68 stitches I had in the colourwork area, and then I reduced a couple of stitches here. But if you want to know exactly what stitch count I used, I have made notes on my Ravelry page. I should have brought the notes here, but I don't suppose it's best to have them written down anyway, isn't it? So I'd started off on with these socks with some 8-inch circulars, Addy 8-inch circulars, and I found that they were a little bit blunt, so I then switched to some 9-inch Chow-Goo needles, and I think I got on with those better. But what I actually decided to do is, because these are colour work, I used 3mm needles instead. So normally I'd get my gauge at 2.75mm needles for a standard sock, but going up to 3mm helped me a lot because they have colour work on these. You can't actually see the colour as well. This is a nice sort of mauvey purple colour, and my camera doesn't seem to pick it up very well, I'm sorry, but it's a really pretty pattern. And I think what I noticed as well with the pattern is it just says to do a fish lips kiss heel, and that's obviously a separate purchasable pattern on Ravelry, but I just did a German short row heel, which I have actually got a tutorial for on YouTube, and I'll pop a link below for that as well if you need help with that. So I finished one of the socks, and these are going to be for me, I think. They are so pretty though, those little hearts. What else did I have to say? Oh, I wanted to show you my floats inside, because I know that lovely Anita from the Gaga Knits podcast was asking about whether the floats would be a problem with them being socks. So that's how they look, and you can see that they're very short floats anyway, so you wouldn't actually get those caught on your feet. So that's quite nice. And actually I quite like the look of these little hearts. The floats on the back, that's so sweet. Anyway, so that's one sock finished for the Dale socks, and these are actually one of my Make 9, which I haven't actually mentioned on the podcast for ages, and I really need to address the fact I haven't knitted many things off my Make 9 yet. I keep getting distracted. Oh dear. So secondly, I've gone a bit mad on my Cozy Memories blanket again. So I have knitted, I think it was from about here. So you can see, oh, it's going to be difficult to hold this up. I'd previously done, so the line was going in this direction on all these squares, and now I'm starting to go this way because I'm planning to do a chevron shape. And you can see that I've started to do a second row, and then I'm going to have a chevron here. It's difficult, I'm trying to hold it up on my face. So these rows are all going to be going in this direction, and I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do the same amount of rows I've done here. So how many have I done? 7. I've done 7 rows all going that direction, and I'm going to do 7 rows in total going in that direction, and then I shall do the same 7 rows in the other direction as well. So I'll be like this, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So I've done, I think it was about 7 or 8 squares on this row. So we've got, I'm going to try and tell you what they are. I have cheated and put the tags on the back. So a lot of these are from my Christmas Advent calendar that I got from Swaps in the last year. So this blue one is Obsidian in Owl About yarn. I may have done that the last episode, I can't remember actually. This one here is by Fondant Fibre, and it's called Lost Marbles. This one is one of Lay Family Yarns. It was one of the Christmas Advents that I'd got as well. This is a Hedgerow yarn in the Twinkly Fairy Lights colourway. This one is Hazel Knits Heartthrob, but I actually run out of that yarn, so I've just put a little bit of another yarn, which I actually have got a full square of later on the row. This one is Nora George Berries and Cream. This one is another one from Lay Family Yarn, and so is this, and actually this one is as well. And you can see this one I'd used to just finish off that red square. I was so close to finishing it, and then I've started a second row as well. So I've got, this one is a Miss Mothballs in the gingerbread colourway. This one is Mothy and the Squid in the oatmeal sprinkle. That's really nice because it's got different coloured neps in it. This one is a Lay family yarn again. And then the last one that I've been knitting on is Fondant Fibre in the Christmas 2016 mini set colourway, and that's really pretty. You can see how they do come out a little bit pointy when you've just finished them. I think it's just from the weight of the blanket stretching it out a little bit, but once you've got the squares next to it, it squares up a little bit, so it's good. If those of you who haven't seen, I have got a tutorial on how I knit my Cozy Memories blanket as well, and I'm planning on doing a fourth video. I think it's fourth, yeah, I think I've done 3 already, on how I do the chevron shape as well. But I shall be doing that when I finish my sock tutorial, so I'm running at the moment. And I've also been working on the socks that I've been doing for my tutorial for the simple top-down socks. And this is how I've got on so far. So this is the part 1 of the set of videos describes you how to do. So you're casting on, doing a rib, 2x2 rib, and then just doing a plain knit all the way around till you get to the heel flaps. Now I'm ready to do my heel flap now, so next week I'll be recording the next bit on how to do the heel flap. And I've got a little progress keeper here, which is just showing me the beginning of the round, and you can find these in my shop if you're interested. These actually glow in the dark, which is quite cool. So this is my Coming Around Again colourway, and this base that I'm using is a sparkly base, and it's, I don't know if you can see in this light, but in natural daylight it really sparkles quite nicely. And I'll show you what it looks like in the skeins. That's what it looks like in the skein, and I'm really pleased with how that knits up. It's really pretty, nice subtle coral blues and greys there. And then I've got one more work in progress that I've been working on, and it's my socks that I've started with the yarn from Lay Family Yarn from our button jar kit. So this is how I've got on so far. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely gorgeous. And it's a lovely little stripe there, which you wouldn't necessarily expect it to have made. So that's really beautiful. I'll show you my ball. That's all, like all the lovely colours that are in there. So there we are, that's all my works in progress to do with my knitting. And now we're getting on to the sewing section. So the elephant in the room, everyone always says that, don't they? I am wearing my new Bettine dress. So I had this cut out for absolutely ages, and I'm actually having to wear it today because Barbara's stuck in the spare room because my parents are coming to visit, and she's just at the back of the spare room, so I can't get to her at the moment. So this is how it looks. You'll see I did actually make one of these before in a chambray fabric, but this is more of a drapey viscose, and I think I picked this up from, I can't actually remember. If you'll have watched this podcast for a while, I did actually show that where I bought it from, so I've completely forgotten. But I don't think they do have any stock of it anyway, because it was a little while ago. So I've put, the previous one I made, the elastic I put in it wasn't as tight as this, and I think I prefer the elastic being nice and tight like this because I can put my phone in my pocket without it dragging the waistband down too much. Unfortunately, I can't get all in the frame. It comes to quite high up on my knee, so I've got some linen trousers underneath these at the moment, but I think it probably looks better with some leggings underneath. My legs are so not nice enough to be wearing this dress on its own. So the only thing I did that I changed from the first version I did was just make the armhole slightly bigger, just to make it a bit more comfortable. But actually, because this is a drapier fabric, it stretches slightly more, I think, and it's just an overall more comfortable dress, I think. I don't know whether I'd make another one of these, because I do prefer the skirt to be more of an A-line shape, and this is quite a sort of relative, well, it's not that close fitting, but it's not as full at the sides as I'd like it to, really. So I'd probably change that if I did it again. On the first version I did, I actually made a large bust adjustment where I've added some darts around the side, but I did exactly the same as I did on the first version. So there we are, there's my make for sewing this week. I have got a couple of things that I've also started, and you might have seen on my Instagram stories that I was sewing a Springfield vest top, which I was deciding whether to put some lace on there, and I got everyone's gave me their opinion, and I think that the majority said that I should put the lace on the bottom, so I may well do that. So hopefully I'll get that finished by the next time. I have literally got about 4 dressmaking projects on the go at the moment, so I need to just finish them. Oh dear. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about my felting project, and I completely forgot to talk about this on the last episode, but I made this little bowl with my friend. So my friend is Rachel, and I think she's Rachel Gorton on Facebook, and she does lots of classes on how to make artistic things like felting, and she came and showed me and my friend Catherine how to make a bowl. Now, you were supposed to have the hole in the middle, but I thought I'd be different and have the hole at the outside. So if you can see just about inside, the inside I've done a darker sort of pink, and then did some sort of textured white bits on the outside as well, but I think I might sew some beads on there and use it to store sort of stitch markers next to the sofa. I thought that'd be quite nice. And you can see, oh, there's a bit of fluff on the bottom. There we go. I've done some swirly bits just to add a little bit of interest, but I think it would look a little bit nicer with some beads on the top as well. So there's that little project. If you live around Yorkshire, you might want to look up Rachel's Facebook page, because she does do classes around there. I will see if I can pop a link in the down bar to her Facebook page if you're interested in keeping an eye out for those classes. But there we go. So we're on to Blast from the Past now. I've got rather an odd Blast from the Past, but I thought it was quite funny, so I thought I'd show you. I found this in my parents' house, and I didn't know that they still had it. So this is a little makeup bag that my mum had given me when I was little to look after all my cross stitch. So I thought, I've actually got cross stitch still in here from when I was about 7, so I thought it'd be quite funny to show you. And goodness knows what I was doing. I must have been just messing around. It was obviously Easter or something, and I've tried to write eggs but spelt it completely wrong. And I've obviously drawn round on this rather large open weave Ada to actually draw where I was going to stitch, but at least I was having a go. So there we go. And I also did a weird version of a car on the edge of the Ada there. And lastly, I think I vaguely remember stitching this as a present for my mum, and it says "Love Eleanor" with a big heart. And I've managed to do some weird version of stitching for the V. I was a cross between sort of cross stitch and single stitch that I've used for all these. So there's definitely cross stitch on the edge of that one, but most of them are sort of I can't remember what you call it, but it's a single stitch rather than the cross stitch. Oh dear, I thought that would be a bit of fun to show you anyway. So I can't believe that I've actually got this cross stitch left from since I was about 7 years old. Oh dear, I can't throw it away now, I'll have to keep it. And next I'm going to talk about Gadget. So I was rummaging through all my bits and bobs, and I just thought I would say how important it is to have a really nice gauge for your knitting needles, because a lot of the knitting needles nowadays, either they don't have the sizes written on them, or sometimes they're really small and you can't see. So this handy little knitting gauge is brilliant for just checking what needle size you've got, because I've done it before, picked the wrong needle size up and thought, oh yes, they're those size, and they're not at all. And it's quite nice because this one's got a ruler down the sides in inches and centimetres. I think I picked this up from a local knitting shop, but it's a pony one. I will leave a link down below to the I think they have it on Amazon, so I'll leave a link below to that if you're interested in that. I know they do far prettier ones in knitting shops like Loop. Like Loop, they do ones in the shape of a acorn. I saw, like, they're really nice. Maybe one day I'll get one of those. I've actually been to Loop properly in the flesh. I've seen it at the Knitting and Stitching show a few years back, but not in real life, so I'd like to go and visit that. So, what have we got next? We have the confession section. And then I'm going to talk about some of the yarn that I'm going to have in my update this evening. So if you're not interested in that or confessions, thank you for joining me. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been naughty and buying. So first of all, I bought this really interesting, it's a thimble ring. Because I'd had a go a little while ago. I don't think I showed it you. I started some Shishiko. And I haven't actually showed it on the podcast yet. I will at some point. So this is where it's from. It's from Clover. And it's basically so that you can use your finger instead of having a separate thimble on the end of your fingers. Because I know I was thinking I'm sure that I'd be better with a thimble sort of on the inside of my finger. So I shall let you know how I get on with that. It appears quite a nice quality sort of ring. And it is adjustable. I have opened it up to fit on my chubby little fingers. So I will tell you how I get on with that. So next I went to Sheringham because my parents are visiting at the moment, and I went to a little bookshop there and they had some knitting books, and I noticed that they got one of these and it was a bargain price of £2.99, which I was very pleased about. And it's a knitter's notebook, and this basically has got some really cool standard size guidelines and things, and keys on terms and techniques and abbreviations for things. But most interestingly is they have a page like this with a rundown of what your projects are, so you can make notes on each of your projects. So I thought that, I know you could make your own little notebook with the little boxes to put things off. I thought, that's so cute though. Everything's all on one page. And there's quite a few repeats of that sort of project. And then there's a really nice little section, and it's an inventory of family and friends sizes. So that'll be really useful to make a note in one place where I can find sizes of sort of sock sizes, especially. That would be really useful. And then there's a little page, set of pages at the back with design area, so you can make a note of ideas that you've got. So I thought that was really lovely. So I can't wait to start making notes in that. I think I saw that they sell them on Amazon, but I think they were quite a bit more expensive because there was only one left in the knitting shop. But if I can find this, I will pop a link down below as well. My lovely friend Jo sent me a gorgeous little parcel the other day. I think it was actually before the last podcast, but I completely forgot to include it in that. Sorry, Jo. And she sent me some Holst yarn. Woo! So most of you have probably heard about this already, but it's supposed to be really, really good for colour work. And it's 100% wool, and it feels quite a rough. It looks like and feels like a weird texture. It doesn't look like it'll knit very nicely at all, but I've heard wonderful things about it. So I know that Ellie from Skandia says this is a wonderful, wonderful yarn, because once you wash it, it blooms wonderfully because there's still sort of grease on there from the sheep's fleece. But it's a lovely colour. Thanks, Jo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little swatch and then wash it, and I can show you what the difference is. That'll be quite interesting. So I shall hopefully do that before the next episode, because I'm really excited to get into some more colour work again. And Jo also sent me this cute little gadget. So you're supposed to wear it on your finger to guide your yarn. So I'm going to have a go with that, and I'll tell you how I got on with that too. So that's really interesting. Thanks, Jo. She also sent me some stitch markers, but I've already started using those on some projects. So I won't be showing you those today. So I think that's all my confessions. I'm not being too bad. Plus some of it was gifts, so that's innocent. So I'm just going to run through a few of the yarns that I've got my shop to update this evening at 7 o'clock, if you like to stick around. If not, see you later. Have a happy crafting week. So firstly, I've got some Strawberry Fields Forever, and I've I've gone slightly different with how I've designed it this time. I've changed it so that it's more small speckles on this yarn with some more areas of plain, because I thought that would come out prettier. The camera isn't picking up the pinks very well, so I will pop a picture up there as well so you can see what it looks like. I've dyed a little bit more of my coming around colourway, which is what I'd knitted my socks in for the top down sock pattern tutorials that I'm doing on YouTube. So that's how it knits up, but this is the colourway coming around again, and I've got it not only in the sparkly base, which is this one which I'm knitting with, but on my normal merino nylon mix as well. And I've got some minis that can go with those, because that'll be nice for contrast heels and toes, but you don't have to choose to buy the mini as well. You can buy the skein on its own. I've got some Where the Wild Roses Grow, and I've popped some minis. I'm going to pop some minis to go along with those that you can opt out or opt in to having. And then I've got some Crazy Little Thing Called Love, which has got pink, yellow and brown speckles all in there. And that's named after the Queen song. I've got some Girls Just Wanna Have Fun, and that's yellow with some lovely orangey speckles. And then I've got some You Spin Me Round, and that's grey with some speckles of purple on the top. And again, purple and pinks don't pick up very well on my camera, so I will pop a picture up here as well. And then lastly, I've got some bubble gum. So this is nice bright blue with some pink. And again, the pink isn't picking up too well, so I'll pop a picture up there as well. So a lot of this batch of yarn is the merino nylon mix that I've done, but I have got some MCN in these two colourways, so in Strawberry Fields Forever and You Spin Me Round. And I think that's it for today. So thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed it and you want to see more. And I shall hopefully see you in a couple of weeks. Watch out for the next part of the top down sock tutorial on YouTube on this channel as well. And happy crafting. Bye!